The 83rd chapter of the book of Tehillim is one that would have been appropriate for yesterday, or Tisha B'Av. Shir Mizmor Asaf, the last of these is a 10 or 11 psalms in a row that are from the family of Asaph, the Levite singers identified from the time of David through even the time of Chizkiyahu, hundreds of years later. Elohim al demilach al techarash al tishkot el. God, don't be silent. Don't be aloof. Don't be fright. Don't be quiet. Don't be far away. Because your enemies, they rage. The foes, they come to the front, right? They become the Rosh. They assert themselves. That's who is in charge. That's who is the Rosh giving out the orders. It's not God. It is the enemies of God. They plot against your people. And the word here, ya'arimu, like rama, a little bit of a similar word to trickery, even that's being used. Their advice and their counsel is against your sifunecha, your treasured people. Amru, we're in Pasuk Hey, verse 5. Lichu v'nachidei migoy v'lo yizacher shem Yisrael od. They say, let's wipe out that nation. Israel's name will never be mentioned anymore. And so, right, seeing these first few verses, you see what I said. This is a a chapter appropriate for Tisha B'Av. Ki, verse 6, Pasuk Vav, Ki noatsu lev yachtav alecha brit yichrotu. And here is something that we know, right? We've all, guys live near one of the biggest Holocaust museums in the world, and you go to the Holocaust Museum in all these countries that were always fighting with each other. What did they all do together, basically? Right, all these Central and Eastern European countries, they all seemed in some ways, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but right, they all managed together to go and destroy the Jewish people, attempt to destroy the Jewish people during the Holocaust, during the Shoah. And right, that's these people, they're always fighting with each other, but they found the Jewish people as a common enemy. And now we're going to list who those people are. Ohalei Adon, Yishmaelim, Moab, the Hagrim, Gval, the Ammon, the Amalek, Pleshet im Yoshvei Tzor, Gam Ashur nilva imam hayuz roa livnei Lot Sela. Right, so we mentioned all of these people. The last one being Assyria, right? From Edom, the descendants of Esav and Yishmaelites, who are not really mentioned very often as being enemies of Israel in the Tanakh. The Moabites, the Hagrim, Bel, Ammon, Amalek, the Plishtim, those entire, we heard a lot about them back in the book of Yechezkel, and even the Assyrians. And I've given them support to the sons of Lot, meaning to Moab or to Ammon. So everybody's getting together. And now we go from asking God and describing what's happening to going back in history and asking God to repeat. Asay lahem, we're in Pasuk Yud. K'midjan, k'sisra, k'yavin, b'nachal, kishon. Deal with them as you did with Midjan and with Sisra and with Yavin at the book of Kishon, right? So we're going back in history, to events that happened in the past, things from the book of Shoftim, specifically Sisra. That's the time of Devorah, and Nachal Kishon is earlier on in the book of is that same battle. And we continue with others. Nishmadu be'ein doar hayudomen la'adama, who were destroyed in Ein Dor, who became like dung for the field. Shitemo nedivemo ka'orev u'chze'ev u'chezevach u'chetzalmuna kol nischemo. Treat them like Orev and Zev, the princes. Treat them like that, and that is to say, to kill them. And those chapters are the chapters with Gidon, when Gidon defeated these enemies. Asher Amru and Pasuk Gimel, Nir Shalanu et Naot Elohim. These people who say, let us take God's land as our possession. Elohei Shitemo Chagalgal Kikash Lifnei Ruach. God, make them be like thistle, like tumbleweed, like stubble, driven away by the wind. Just like a fire burns the forest, as flames scorch the hills. And these days we know all over the world about wildfires and the devastation that can happen. I don't know if on the other side of the pond, so I don't know if this gargantuan wildfire that was in California, if it has yet been put out. Cain, and we continue, Pasuk Ted Zayin, verse 16. Cain tir defame b'sa'arecho b'skutecha ti bahalayim. Pursue them with your, with your fierceness. Terrify them with a bahala, which could be a storm or could be sort of confusion. Had that word used in different places to describe things that are happening in war in past chapters. Malei pneim kalon b'bakshushim chad, and I cover their faces with shame and embarrassment, so that they seek you, God. Yevoshu, yibhalu adead v'yachperu v'yovedu. They should be frustrated, terrified, disgraced, doomed. V'yedu ki ata shimcha Adonai levadecha elyon al kol haaretz, so that they know that you are the one on top, that you are the one in charge, that you are elyon al kol haaretz. And this idea goes back all the way to Moshe. Said it before, in the desert when God wants to destroy the Jewish people, and Moshe basically says, everybody's going to say you could defeat the God of the Egyptians, but not the gods of the desert. You're not that strong. And here, this is less. This is not being said. It's sort of as a challenge to God. But the author, the family of Asaph, is saying to him, excuse me, Joseph just texted me. The family of Asaph is saying to him, is saying to God, follow, right? If you do this for us, then the whole world will know that you're in charge. We're not challenging you to do it, but it will be to your own benefit. And as I said, it's a very, very sad chapter when we think about our history, we think about events, we think about the world today. All these people who have very little in common are more than happy to come and condemn the Jewish state and condemn Israel. And it's something that unfortunately we've seen throughout our history, that it's something that started a long, long time ago.